Okay, we're back with episode 21 of PuckPod by BD Sports. Funny enough, Dave's wearing 21 on his jersey. But let's get started. Christian, how was your week?
Yeah, it was a pretty good week. Pretty like for myself personally, not like a crazy busy week, but like I feel like so much stuff has happened since we last talked. Like we're getting into some trade stuff hockey wise. There was that football game yesterday. We had a bunch of freaking balloons or whatever. I find that stuff interesting. And on a personal note, this is something I do. If you're watching the video, maybe you'll notice. But like every couple of months, I don't know, but you guys can tell me. I just kind of decide to take out the scruff look. Like I just decide not to shave for like 3-4 days. I don't know why, but I took out the scruff look. And you know what? And you just see like, okay, does anybody does anybody say anything or whatever? I don't think I got a single comment on it whatsoever. So the scruff is gonna go after this. But I wanted to keep it for the pod. That was my week.
Looks good. Looks good. Dave, how was your week?
Quiet.
That's it.
That's
it.
Yeah. Okay.
Quiet.
My week is good. Still going through the Marvel movies. I watched a bit of Super Bowl yesterday. Yeah, but you know what wasn't quiet? The trade talk this week. Let's get into it with the Tarasenko.
I want to do 2 minutes of Super Bowl talk. I want 2 minutes.
Okay, that's fine. This is
coming from the guy. Sorry, Dave.
So how do you want to start the Super Bowl talk then, Christian?
Listen, I want to start it at the end. I think that's where most people are starting, right?
That is where we're starting it.
And full disclosure as well, like me and Brian watched it, and I did not think anything of the call, the whole day of pass interference call at the end of the game there, because I'm very much just a casual football guy. So if it's not blatantly obvious to me, I'm not gonna pick it up on my own. So I just kind of heard about how people were really disagreeing with the call after the fact. Yeah, I don't necessarily have an opinion one way or another. I feel like Dave, you probably do. What do you think about that call there?
So the obvious, as a Leaf fan, the obvious connection I'm gonna make is the
Brian just face palmed for anyone wondering.
I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the Justin Hall and John Tavares disallowed call, right? Yeah.
Because it is, because that's a series altering call that you made, and that was a game altering, Super Bowl altering call with it's 3rd and 9. It's 3rd and 9 deep in Eagles territory, right? No, in KC territory, because it was the reverse. Dude. Okay, and I heard a lot of people. So here's the thing. I'm kind of in the middle for it. I wanted the Chiefs to win. Full disclosure, I won $250 last night on some sports betting sites.
Let's go.
Pretty good. We're up. And so the Chiefs winning, dude, completely happy about it. But I would like to say I think I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm the biggest NFL fan, but that's a very ticky-tack call. I've seen that's a real tough one.
You've seen that play not get called before, is what you're trying to say.
I have. Yeah. So that's that's one that could go 50-50. That goes 50-50 in regular season games, and people are upset about it, or they're like, so how are you going to call a pass interference like that when we've seen stuff called for potentially less? There's always two sides of the argument, but to call it almost, that's last play for the Philadelphia Eagles basically in that game. That's a complete momentum shift. Ooh. Okay, so I don't know if you guys saw, but after the game, I forget exactly who the player was.
All right, I don't remember either.
I think he was number 40 something, whatever. We should find his name at some point, but you know what?
We should. We're not doing him justice, but it is a hockey.
We
podcast.
are doing him justice.
Here for the football facts. No, if we get them right, those are all bonus. That's all gravy.
I know 42 is Kelsey on the Philadelphia Kelsey.
62.
62? Okay, never mind. I'm off.
Yeah.
Never mind. Yeah, see, that's how much I know about football.
So he came out and basically said like, yeah, he was grabbing onto the jersey, and you could see like he did have like a hold on the jersey. First watch, everybody was like, how are you going to call that? Like, that's a real ticky-tack play that you're going to call pass interference on. I could see it, but again, like, you know, he did try to make it sneaky. He's like, I thought I kind of got away with it there. And you know what? Kudos for him for not, like, saying that's a bullshit call.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. Like, maybe his true feelings. Because at the end of the day, it looks bad on him. But, you know, good for him for owning up to his mistake.
If that play happens, let's say 20 yards before that play does happen, right? Instead of 3rd and 9, right? If that takes place earlier in the drive, it's not a non-story, but it's not even close to the same magnitude.
It doesn't affect the game like that.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
If that's
what it is.
If that's at the Eagles 30-yard line instead of the Chiefs 30-yard line, you know, when they're just starting the drive, I mean, you could go frame by frame on every single NFL snap, and you could find something, you know, that you could nitpick. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of had, like, the problem, because it's like, but there's probably a couple other infractions on that play as well, offense or defense, where you could call it, but they just won't. But then you're calling that on, and it's not even that egregious. Like, the pass interference call, when they brought it in, it was meant for, like, egregious, the reviews especially, they were meant for like egregious pass interference, like, you know, blatant misses, exactly.
I mean,
but that, I don't know if that was a blatant miss as much as, like, you know, something that they might have been looking for. But sometimes like the human aspect in sports always comes through, right?
Yeah.
This is a hockey podcast, and do you guys want to hear a hockey player's opinion on this play here?
Yes.
I don't know if you guys saw it.
Was it Justin Hall?
It was not Justin Hall. That would be hilarious. Sean McKenzie on Wednesday. I'm watching you. You better ask him, okay, man? All right. This is Lance Lazowski, who I'm assuming is a Buffalo reporter, and the player in question here is Kyle Okposo. So Lance asked Kyle how he and others in the NHL would want a possible borderline penalty handled with the cup on the line. And this is Okposo's answer, and I quote, I think that if you're trying to compare as close to apples as you can, you're thinking, okay, Game 7, Stanley Cup Final, last minute, and a bit of a ticky-tacky hold, one that you might call in the regular season, and you might not. They're not going to call that penalty, nor would we want them to. It's just a matter of fact. Everybody can complain as much as they want how penalties don't get called in the playoffs, but they call enough. I don't think any player in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final would want that call. So I think that kind of summarizes a lot of people's opinions there. I'm in agreement with Kyle Okposo there.
I will also say this: when the NHL does go into the playoffs and penalties aren't called, you know, sometimes it can be a little bit annoying. But I will say this: penalties just kill the momentum of the game. Playoff hockey is a different beast, and the way that the pace is with no penalties in overtime with no commercials, man, sometimes you just can't beat it. And it's so good.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Like that John Tavares goal, like, right? Like that was, right? Great goal. Right?
Okay. Let's sticking to
one
hockey.
One last thing, Brad. But like, you notice like that game yesterday was probably like before that call was made. I know that call might have probably tainted a lot of people's memories because great Super Bowls, start to finish, it's like it's the roller coaster, right? That game yesterday kind of like had everything. High scoring, defenses were kind of non-existent.
Injury drama.
There wasn't as many penalty calls either. For a sport that's very stop and start, the actual game itself seemed to flow up until the end. Like right then when they called that penalty, it seemed like everybody in the stands, in the like every fan that was in attendance, everybody on the sidelines, all the coaches, it seemed like it kind of just like popped the air out of the balloon, no pun intended, because like we've had balloon incidents around here. But yeah, I don't know.
I
It
think
was
that's a good
still
way
a
to
good
put it,
game.
Dave.
All
All
right,
in all,
Yeah.
100% it was still a good game.
all right. We're at 10
I know
minutes now.
Brian's being a good host here. Yeah, Brian's being a good host. He's budgeting time, and me and Dave keep
Yeah.
going back and forth.
Yeah, we're
So
just
please,
gonna keep
Brian,
going.
take it away, man.
Keep
Sorry.
going.
Okay. Uh okay, yeah, let's stay on hockey now. Let's talk about the Vladimir Tarasenko trade that just happened. Vladimir Tarasenko to the Rangers. Oh boy. And what was the
I
return,
did an
Christian?
article on it.
Yes, you did.
I will give you the return. So the Rangers get not only Vladimir Tarasenko, but they get
Sammy
Nico Mikkola, who's a guy that I was a fan of in the lead up to the deadline here. And in return, the Blues reacquire
Sammy
Samuel
Blaze.
Blades, who's already scored for them, as well as I think he's like a B prospect, Hunter Skinner. Hadn't heard of him until this trade, as well as a 2023 first round pick with conditions, and a 2024 fourth round pick. The condition for the first is really the one that matters here, and that is it'll be a first round pick, or it'll be whichever of these two picks are later, being the 2023 Rangers first or the Dallas 2023 first. Obviously, they got that in the Nils Lundqvist trade with the Stars earlier in the season. So that's the trade right there. Yeah, what do you guys think about this trade?
This is one of the trades I looked at and I was like, okay, I don't know who won. This to me seems like a pretty even trade. The reason I say this is because obviously the Rangers, they had a lethal scorer, Vladimir Tarasenko. I know he has chemistry with Panarin already. We've all seen it. You guys probably read the stories. Tarasenko has been trying to get before Panarin signed with the Blackhawks. Tarasenko was asking the Blues management, get this guy, please get this guy. Obviously, he went to Chicago. You know the story from there. And then they found their way together in New York, and they're going to be playing together. They have a lethal offense with Zibanejad there. Chef's kiss.
Imagine how different the NHL looks because Panarin was absolutely essential to the 2015 Blackhawks Cup run. Imagine how the NHL looks. So St. Louis ended up getting their cup right in 2019, but imagine because St. Louis, a lot of people seem to forget, but St. Louis was during that Blackhawks era, they were always in and around that top spot. It was you had to go through Chicago. That was the problem, right? Imagine instead Panarin joins up with Tarasenko and like the likes of like I don't know Ryan O'Reilly and all those guys on St. Louis. Before maybe we could have seen a cup in St. Louis earlier than 2019. Maybe a couple of years earlier. Maybe we could have seen another one, like two of them.
Potentially.
Who knows?
But
Yeah, I think you could have made an argument for 2015 there.
yeah.
For sure.
But going back to the return, obviously Tarasenko slowed down a bit, right? In the past couple of years, it's no surprise to anybody. We've all seen it. He's been not I want to say regression, but he's not point per game anymore. And they got the first round pick, which is always good, and they got a prospect. I mean, for a guy you knew you were going to lose anyway, that's a pretty decent haul.
I call it a fair return.
Yeah.
I think this is your classic rental pickup by the Rangers, and the Blues are getting your classic rental return. I would call it just a fair trade, but I really like this trade for the Rangers. Like Brian, you said
I
it.
didn't want to hear you say that.
I know, like, listen, Brian, every passing day, I want to reverse retro Rangers jersey more and more. Also, like, I can't remember if I said this on the pod. I may or may not, like, have put down, like, $4 or $5 on the Rangers, like, back in June to win the Cup this year. So
I hope you lose your money
I
there.
like that. it was like boosted odds, bro. Anyways, I think it was like $4 to win 100. Anyways, betting aside, yeah, this really lengthens the Rangers lineup, specifically at forward. And listen, in my opinion, I'd say that the Rangers are basically one more trade away for, like, let's say a middle six forward. They're one trade away from having like a truly formidable roster with not many holes in it. I was looking at cap friendly to see, like, okay, can they actually make another move? It's possible. They have like just under like $400K in cap space right now, which obviously isn't enough to add somebody outright. But with the assumption that You'd be sending another forward down to the AHL and maybe shipping one out. We know that Kravtsov is now on the block again, and I think he makes 1.5. So it is totally doable, guys. You add another guy who's making, let's say, less than $1 million this year, and you're pushing a guy like Jake Leschyshyn out of their top 12, and you've got quite the roster. I just want to read these lines though really quickly here. The first line we know, they've actually changed it up a bit. Right now they're running Kreider, Zibanejad, Tarasenko, Panarin, Trocheck, Jimmy Vesey. If you can knock Jimmy Vesey out of the top 6, that's where you're doing really well. I don't know if they'll be able to do that, but yeah, you got the kid line as your third line: Laugh, Hedel, and Kako. And right now you got Barclay Goodrow, Jake Leschyshyn, and Julien Gauthier as your fourth line. You require a fourth line center. That is a deep forward group.
Let me just ask you guys this: do they have the best PP1 in the league, just based off like on paper? Adding Tarasenko, that's a power play specialist. Because Edmonton,
there's a team that,
I would say Boston.
Like literally, that's another in Tampa.
I think. Well, yeah, that's 1 and 2 right now, right?
Because they have.
I think in terms of actual players on the line, it's probably Edmonton. But in terms of cohesion and maybe who you want to send out, I don't know. I always kind of get stuck with the Oilers because it does feel like sometimes they could get into a bit of a rut. Like it's like too much star power and too very, very like top heavy. But for me, like the Bruins are top heavy, but they always seem to get it done. And then if they don't get it done with that first line, that second line's coming out, and they're probably going to cause just as much damage. So I'll go with them, but. You know, you can make the case for top 3, top 5 for sure.
The reason I say the Rangers, like the reason I bring this up is because you have a guy like Fox, sleeper passer, has a clap bomb. Panarin and Zibanejad are notably power play specialists. Both of them are interchangeable in any spot on the power play, but Tarasenko is too. You know,
does Tarasenko even make PP1 though? Like, I feel like you throw Kreider on the net front still.
Yeah,
like that's what I'm saying, right? Like that's just another guy that you can just in and out, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like embarrassment of riches, right? Like you have so many solutions to fix the problem, basically.
This is where we want the Leafs to be. Like, the Rangers are having the problems that like Leaf fans are dreaming about. Like, oh, what if they acquired Horvat or Meyer or Tarasenko? It'd be like, where do you play him? How is he playing on PP1? The Rangers are going through that problem right now, and nobody's criticizing them for it because it's a good problem to have, right?
Well, you know why nobody's criticizing for them? Because they've gotten the ball running. Basically, the first game, Tarasenko scores on his first shot. Right, the game. After, so I believe they played. Was it Friday and Saturday, or Thursday and Saturday? Or did they play?
Question.
Whatever.
Sure.
They played 2 games. Tarasenko's played 2 games in New York.
Yeah.
The first game, he scores a goal. The game after, his line mate Panarin scores 4. So it's like, you know, they already like. I don't know how many of those goals came on the power play. I'm not too sure, but it's like, it's just an embarrassment of riches right now for New York. And one that I think kind of, I don't want to say that the Isles kind of forced the Rangers' hand into doing anything, but you see the Isles starting to make moves. They got the big fish, right? And that was the first like ripple in the trade deadline. Sorry, in the trade pool. Who was next? So, and it was obviously the crosstown rivals, right? There's 3 New York teams in contention. New York City-based teams.
Metro area.
The Buffalo Sabres are New York State, but different division, right? But the 3 I'm looking at are the Devils, the Isles, and the Rangers. The Isles and the Rangers both made significant moves to maintain their position and potentially go on deep runs. The Isles are fighting for their playoff lives. The Rangers are loading up for a deep cup run. So now, the third team in that little trifecta, the Devils, You know, and it's not even just them. It's like now the Metro basically has to react. Like two of the top two of the teams in that division made big moves. Are what type of plan do the other teams in that division, like, how are they going to plan for the future? Basically, is the question that I'm asking.
As a team in
Yeah.
the division, God damn it! Oh
Yeah,
my
right, this is a
goodness!
tough one,
I mean,
eh?
Caps fans, Canes fans, Penguins fans. Listen, if I'm a Penguins fan, I don't know. I'd be hoping to God you guys make the playoffs, but I see them as the team falling out personally.
Me too.
And I love Crosby, I love
agree.
Malkin,
Yeah.
but damn, like all of those teams now are gonna have to really make some moves just to hold their spot currently.
Just to keep pace.
Exactly, and that's the type of move that really now we're really going to start to see the market. Like we said before, the Horvat trade, we're like, oh, what does this mean for like the market? Now is when we're going to start to see teams really starting to amplify trade talks with big targets. And I would predict probably by the end of this week, we might see another team, you know, moving for somebody big. I mean, the big talk over the weekend was a notable Arizona defenseman who may or may not have been moved like Saturday, and
Well-
like there's nothing going on.
well,
We'll get,
2
we'll get
times
into
over, we
that.
thought it's been moved.
Well,
yeah,
well,
we
we'll-
will get into that later.
We'll get into that later, but there's just one more point I wanted to make for the Rangers first. I know I'm gonna sound like a Rangers fan. I promise I don't like the Rangers. I do have a lot of respect for the organization and
oh yeah,
and the players in the team. But guys, fastest rebuild ever. If you,
Yeah,
it seems like
I mean,
yesterday.
what about the Leafs?
It seems like
yeah,
yes.
Leafs is pretty fast, bro.
It seems like yesterday that Tom Wilson put the franchise into the ground. They sent a letter to the shareholders. They sent a letter to the season ticket holders. It's going to be a painful rebuild. It's going to take us a while. We apologize.
Well, wasn't that painful? Was it?
It wasn't. No,
I don't think it was that painful.
No pain at all, man.
It was seamless.
You
It
know,
was a
like
nice little
Babs,
COVID
right?
shot. It
What was
quick
the
and
Babs
seamless.
line? Yeah, this.
Oh,
There's-
yeah, he's like,
there's gonna be
there's gonna be-
pain.
he's like, I can't assure. He's like, what did he say? He was like, he's like, everybody's asking me if there's going to be pain. He's like, there's going to be
It's gonna be
pain.
pain.
No,
Yeah, I'm like, okay,
okay.
Mike. All right, dude. I was watching that interview at home with my dad because I was sick that day. And he said that, and I was like, God damn it, Mike! You just got me. I'm so hyped up for this season. I was like, I'm in right now.
Dude, that's a throwback. Him and Lou.
Man.
Yeah, I Brian, I get what you're saying. Like, definitely super fast rebuild. Because dude, they made a ton of moves at that deadline where they sent out that letter. They shipped out so many guys. I think was that when the McDonough trade happened. I think it was,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
McDonough and let's not forget they sent McDonough
JT
and
Miller.
JT Miller, right? What else was that? The Rick Nash deal too.
Yes,
the Bruins.
That was the first
right?
one.
Yeah,
He was,
so
Sounds about right.
that first domino
Yep.
to fall.
that propelled
It was him?
their him. Yeah,
It was him. Sorry, it was him. And then, like,
yeah.
I believe I saw I was watching the Steve Dangle podcast the other day, and
Never
they
heard of
actually
it.
brought up. Never heard of him. They brought up that same point, Christian. Actually,
Yeah.
to Brian's point as well. Like they were talking about how quick that rebuild was, but I believe the context that they were making was the Flyers penned an open letter to their shareholders, kind of
Yeah.
admitting that they're going into a rebuild because for some reason they thought that they'd be able to compete this year, but that's a different story, I guess.
Going out on a limb, that rebuild will not be as fast as the Rangers
Oh,
want.
that's going to be a
limb there.
painful rebuild. I'll tell you that right now. If you
Yes.
want pain, watch Flyers hockey now for the next few years.
Yeah.
But sticking with the Rangers, you know, they used what they had to their advantage. They used their plethora of experienced guys, send them out, get picks, acquire players. They also used their appeal. You know, people want to play in New York, especially the New Yorkers. Notably, Adam Fox. He specifically wanted to play in New York, and he ended up being, you know, we always have this argument, one or two best defensemen in the league.
Hey, don't forget Jimmy Vesey, by the way. Hey, that guy wanted to play in New York too. Don't forget.
Oh
I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
want to play Toronto though.
Well, he's doing okay now. I mean, like you said, he is the weakest link in the top six, but Like, get him out of there. Top.
He's filling in. He's filling in.
You put him in top 9.
If he-
It's not bad.
if he drops down to the third, maybe even the fourth line as a support player,
Yeah.
can you like?
I would say the third, but there's no room on the third, man. It's the
That's
kid
the
line,
problem.
right?
So
Yeah. Great problem.
I will also say this.
There's no-
I think that as it stands right now, Rangers are probably the third most likely team to win the cup. As it stands right now.
So you're putting Bruins ahead of them and
Dallas.
Carolina.
Bruins,
You
Dallas,
put Dallas at it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
and then I put the Rangers right
I-
up there. Carolina's
I feel
4.
like it's
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's premature to
I
do the
put them a
exercise
little
because now we're in. Where are you putting them, Dave?
I would say it's probably like, dude, if Carolina had like, listen, I love Fred, but he's no Shesterkin, right? And I could definitely see why
Yeah.
Brian's coming from where Brian's coming from there. If you get playoff Shesterkin again with this team now, wow, that that Eastern Conference final could be a heavyweight bout between potentially the Boston Bruins and the New York Rangers. And the Boston Bruins might have to also end up playing the Hurricanes as well. And man, if they get through those two teams, I would say they might I think the Cup's going to come out of the East. It's going to be the winner of that Eastern Conference final. No disrespect to any team in the West, but I don't think any team in the West stacks up to the top. Like,
I just say
listen,
as it
I'll go out
stands.
on the limb here too, and I'll say like I don't think any of those Western Conference teams even stack up to like the Leafs. And the Leafs haven't won a playoff.
Yeah.
Yet, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the East is deep. I just feel like the conversation is too premature. Not premature. I should actually. We're in now the period where teams have made trades and others haven't, right? So it's like the Rangers have a leg up, but we know the Bruins are going to make a trade. We know the Lightning are going to make a trade. The Hurricanes definitely. The Devils, like
We
all
hope
these
the
teams
Leafs make a trade.
notice how I didn't name them, right? Yeah. So listen, like I think we have to wait now until the deadline. Going into the trade deadline, I agree with all your guys' points. But now it's like we need everyone to make their move.
Christian Freeze?
These Stanley Cup champions that are just kind of lurking right now. And if they find their 2C and they get healthy, they're just as good as any team, right? With the caveat of injury woes and health from long run last year. But Brian, take us away there. I know you're trying to segue us again. Let's go.
There is also another.
Speaking of the West,
actually, no. We can do one more thing that we didn't mention with the Tarasenko trade. Patrick Kane was obviously upset that he wasn't traded to the Rangers. That happened. And that's one more team that probably was willing to look at him. That like obviously won't be getting him now.
I've got the quote here. I'm gonna give it a read.
Yeah, give it a read.
Okay, Patrick Kane. This is from Charlie Rumliotis. I'm actually not familiar with this guy. Once again, I'm going to assume Chicago reporter. Patrick Kane on the Tarasenko trade. It's not the happiest I've been to hear about a trade. I think the Rangers are a team that you definitely pay attention to and definitely are intrigued by for obvious reasons. Kane on whether he had the Rangers on his radar. If things were going to happen, that was a team I was definitely looking at. It seems like they kind of filled their void and went ahead and made a deal. So it is what it is. And this is just on his hip injury, which goes hand in hand, and it goes to maybe why the Rangers didn't want to make a deal. The question was if he feels his hip injury is overblown in the media, and he says yes. He says, yeah, I think so. I'm not sure what the story is, to be honest with you, but I feel better than I did last year. It's just one of those things that maybe the story leaks out and it piles up a bit. He isn't having as good of a statistical season this year. We know that.
He's having a Kuznetsov year where his defensive metrics look awful. His offensive metrics look awful, but he has a lot of assists, so it boosts his value up like an insane amount. Like it's the Kuznetsov effect.
The hip injury is a thing. Whether he wants to say yes or no, like it's reality. It happens, right? So I think we can at least question it. I didn't like reading these quotes. Like if I'm a prospective team looking at Kane, no. Let me back it up. As a fan of a team that I wouldn't mind making a move like that, not that I expect it, But if I had heard Patrick Kane's coming to the Leafs, like I'd be like, we're not his first choice. He's not. His heart wasn't here, right? And whether he was set on the Rangers or like, it's just. I think he just got waited out. Like he hasn't made his mind up yet, and because of that, I don't blame the Rangers for saying, "Listen, Kane, we can't wait for you, right? Because there's no guarantee we get you." The Kane's guaranteed they got a winger, and Kane's the one left without a dance partner right now. He'll get one eventually, but
and he tried waiting out the Rangers, but the Rangers stood pat, and I think made the right move in this decision, taking Tarasenko over Patrick Kane. I know they're both. They're not the same type of player. I'm not going to sit here and say Patrick Kane in his prime was something different. That guy was a light, like just a joy to watch.
Yeah,
but he's not Patrick Kane for 2015, right? Actually, not even Patrick Kane from when was the last time the Hawks made the playoffs? Like 2018.
It would have been the COVID year. It would have been the
COVID year, maybe.
Playoffs. Dude, he's not even Patrick
even
Kane
then.
Patrick Kane of last
year.
Right?
Exactly. And neither is Tarasenko. Tarasenko is coming off a career year, but I think for the cost of Tarasenko, almost half of the cap hit. I believe Tarasenko's at 6.5 compared to 10.
And there's retention. The Rangers got retention.
There's 25%.
And it matters because, like I said, they can make another move. If they had got Kane, unless they were getting double retention,
they'd be strapped out.
They'd be capped out, right?
But even at 50%, that's $5 million, right? That's still more than 20 than Tarasenko on 25, right? Yeah. And I think right now Tarasenko is the better player, and that hip injury, as much as Kane wants to downplay it, and I respect the hell out of him for trying to downplay it because it seems like he has made his mind up. I know the talk was, they're not sure if he's made his mind up if he wants to leave Chicago. I think he has made his mind up.
Those quotes tell you that, man.
That tells me right there that he's trying to boost his own trade value as much as he can to try to get out of Chicago, to try to, one last run maybe.
You know what? It's okay because the dream of him playing for Buffalo is always still up there in every viewer's heart.
Like, if he wanted to play for the Rangers, do you think he wants to play for the Sabres? Like, I don't know.
I mean,
he might have to. I think.
Yeah, at this point, his hand might be forced. A or B. It's always a dream of the kid to go back home, right?
Yeah, what team I think steps up to the plate that's been rumored for a little bit and it'd be a really seamless fit too is Dallas. Brian already mentioned Dallas as a top contender there. Could you imagine Dallas with Kane, right? They've already got some old man power there with Jamie Benn and Pavelski. They'd have a nice blend of youth and veteran power there.
So the guy,
I feel like they're the team to watch.
So the guy that torments Jamie Benn and Pavelski finally, for years and years and years, finally adds them to the squad, and they go for one last miracle run.
Hey, if you can't beat him, join him.
Or you can't beat him, sign him.
Yeah. If you can't beat him, trade for him. That's the real line, right? Yeah.
He also used to torment Joe Pavelski as well.
Yeah,
man,
the whole Western Conference.
They probably have no love lost for Patrick Kane and John Taves. I'll tell you that.
Until they're on his team.
Speaking of the Western Conference, let's go to the next trade that didn't happen, or I don't know,
the trade we're still waiting on.
Yes,
72 hours.
It's the Jake Chychrun trade. We talked about a lot about this in our own chat personally, in our own personal group chat, and we all have high regards for him. I know, I rate him really highly, probably more than these two over here. But a lot has happened. Let's go in chronological order.
Do you have a timeline there?
I have a mental one. So
do you have a timeline, Christian?
Go for it. I do have the timeline. I'll clarify you as you go, Brian, if you want to give it a go.
If you have the official one, just bear with me because
mine's just as official with yours. So go ahead with yours, and I'll hit you with mine.
So in 2016, Jake Chychrun drafted by the Arizona Coyotes. But hear me out. Since then,
scrolling back.
But since then, every single year he's been on the trade block. You've always heard this guy is available for trade. Yeah. It seems like he's been on the trade block since literally 2017, right?
He's the new Dumba, eh?
Look, seems like it, yeah. But
and even then, Dumba hasn't been traded, anyways.
The Yotes' most valuable asset. since then, right? He is
Player
the
and asset.
player and asset, exactly, right? He's been that blue chip guy in the system. So yeah, keep going,
So
Brian.
a couple years later,
Hit your
um,
timeline.
we know that he's going, and then I think on Friday, the uh, the Friday of this year, 2023. So about 5 years later, or no, is it 6 years
A lot
later?
of empty space in the
Yeah,
timeline.
but okay. The Arizona Coyotes tweet out this guy, Jake Chychrun, our all-star, our best player on the team, will not be playing due to trade reasons. When was the last time you guys saw
I
that?
love that they
I've
said that.
never seen
Never.
that.
I've
I
never,
love that they said that.
and did you guys see what they
Even
said
like
today?
insiders, even insiders are like, no. Did they not say today that they're
Yeah.
holding him out for the
He-
rest of this week?
He's not playing for the. He's not. Yeah,
He's not playing until he gets traded, boys.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh
That's
my
the
God.
reality of the situation. Brian, I want to go back a little bit, even just before that too. Like we talked about this. I don't remember if we did. I think we touched on it. The Instagram thing there, right? Oh, he changed his bio.
Oh,
Yes,
for
yes.
Arizona, the bio. Oh, he's following some leaves. And that was quickly shot down by, I think it was Craig Morgan at The Athletic, their Arizona Coyotes reporter there, as a false flag. Like, he talked to Chychrun personally. He's like, oh, I made that change back like last year. So, false flag there. And as you said, good old trade reasons happens. And where did that leave us on Saturday night, Brian? What did we start hearing on Saturday night? What did I
Live.
send in the chat? And I was like, oh my God.
Live on Hockey Night in Canada, which you can watch on Football TV, by the way, on CBC. I think was this second? Yeah, second intermission.
It's always, second intermission, 32 thoughts.
Jeff Merrick comes out. Jeff Merrick, was it him? And he
And
says,
Elliot
Jeff
Friedman.
"It looks to me
Yes.
like the Leafs and the Oilers are out of contention for Jake Chychrun." And
It
then
was way more heartbreaking than that. He was like, Edmonton, no. Leafs, no. And I was like, my heart sank. My heart sank, man.
on Super Bowl Sunday, we got notice that funny enough, the Super Bowl was in Arizona. That
Very funny.
the Arizona
Chychrun
Coyotes
would be traded to the Kansas City Chiefs.
to win his first Super Bowl
Bowl.
before he won his first Stanley Cup. But the Kings allegedly worked out a deal, or were working out a deal involving Clark and 2 first-round picks, and now they said that Clark's not involved. And
That's been reported from multiple different sources now.
And now we don't know where we are. We don't know what's going on, but we know that a trade will likely most happen by the end of this. By the end of this saga.
Yeah, it's
So
still
now-
reported that they're the front runner, the Kings. Like all signs point to the Kings. That's been reported now, I think, by CJ, Chris Johnston. So pretty verifiable stuff. And now we wait.
So here we have an elite defenseman in the league. Probably top 10, definitely top 10, ranging from the 6 to 10 range for sure.
Like you said, we had
Yeah.
this conversation in our chat. For me and Dave started. We're like, he's like 10 to 20, and then we looked a little bit more into it, and we're like, dude, we were already like, because I said like, how many guys are definitively? If I could definitively say the word definitively, that would be great, and I just did. How many guys are definitively better than Jacob?
I know the 5 we listed off the top of my head: Fox, Makar, Hedman, Yossi, McAvoy. Done. That's it.
Yeah, I would throw Carlson in there too. Just just this year. Like,
Current
it's not,
season,
yeah. But like honestly, at that point, you can start making arguments for and against him. So I think we came to a conclusion like 6 to 12.
Yep.
Anywhere from 6 to 12, depending on the eye of the beholder.
But you have a elite defenseman in the league, top 1 percentile for sure, and then he's on a controlled contract. I think it's $4.25 million for the next 2 seasons.
Mid fours, yeah.
For the next
this year plus 2.
for the rest of this year and for the next 2 seasons after that.
It's a steal.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, you throw the sink at him. So that's the big question, right? If it's not going to be LA, who's it going to be? Because like there isn't like if I'm any playoff like even teams that might not have playoff aspirations, like they're maybe just outside. Dude, you have him for another 2 years after this. Like, who's to say by year 3 you guys aren't in the position to just go for it with him? but any team in the league should be ringing.
We
Who's
mentioned the
GM
team
there
earlier,
now?
man. GM is Bill Armstrong.
Bill Armstrong.
You know how this is something we always talk about, the Bond villain club. Bill Armstrong, he's another guy that like might be a Bond villain. Just throwing it out there. Next time you see him, you'll be like, okay, maybe. Yeah. Listen, like we mentioned the team earlier, the Sabres. Like why shouldn't the Sabres be jumping on this, right? Personally, from everything we've heard, what do you got, Brian? You going to tell us your team?
Oh no, I was going to tell them.
You're going to send Power the other way?
No, if you
No,
I was going to send Power that way.
Oh, I was going to say. I was going to say.
No.
Can you imagine 2 years from now, you have like in Chychrun's last year of the contract, you have Dahlin entering his prime. You have Owen Power, who will be.
Dahlin's right in his prime. If you're asking me, like this is like he's given us. Like, you can make the argument for Dahlin. We had this conversation too. Like Dahlin's on Chychrun level. I'd probably even give the edge to Dahlin, right?
But you have that. You have like Dahlin entering his prime, like or in his prime. You have Owen Power.
Guys in their prime.
Yes, you have Owen Power experience and Dahlin.
Owen Power still on his ELC.
Yeah, that too.
Right?
You have Power and Chychrun together for under 5.5. Think about that.
Crazy.
That is ridiculous.
Nuts. That's what I'm saying. Like I feel like the Sabres and listen. So part of the thing with the LA stuff and why we still see them as a front runner and yet nothing's happened yet is because there's talk about like, is it going to be a bigger deal? They might be working on something bigger. So immediately, who comes to mind as someone on Arizona that would make sense for
Melka, the goalie?
Nick Bjugstad.
The Veggie Milkman. No, Nick Bjugstad. No, yeah,
Nick Bjugstad.
I would like the Nick Bjugstad for the Leafs. But the Veggie Milkman, though, makes lots of sense for LA, right? And Arizona, they love their bad contracts. Send on over Cal Peterson. You throw in another sweetener. It makes so much sense, right? So maybe that's what's going on here. But that would also work for the Sabres, right? The Sabres could do with
Melka. They could.
They could. So listen, I want to throw the Sabres in the ring there. I know we haven't had like any rumors on that, but like Kevin Adams, he's a pretty smart guy. I wonder if we hear about him. If it's okay, listen, Dave said like if it's not LA, who is it? I don't know if it can be anyone other than LA. Like LA has the best pieces available, or like the best reported pieces. Brant Clark, like there's not a prospect that's going to be on the market that's better than Brant Clark, and maybe he's not on the market, and that's a different scenario. But if he's there, like that's a slam dunk.
The way it sounded was like that Clark just wasn't on the market. Like he was the untouchable piece. That was the vibe that I got off of it. And how I was just thinking about this before, like how awesome would it be to see Clark again on the same team with Dylan Genther if that trade would have went through. Like, those two were absolutely electric for Canada and the juniors, and then them also now playing on the same. They'd probably end up being on the same like line together, not like as line mates, but you know what I mean.
On the same power play.
On the same power play, they could for sure.
Yeah,
I would have been. That's why I was like, oh, dude, that makes too much sense for Arizona to do. I thought 100%. Like, if you're gonna go out, I really like Brant Clark. Like, I watched him during the juniors. I saw a few games of him. I think it was last year. Where was he at? Was he on Kingston?
I actually don't remember. I don't know.
I know he was in the O, but I do remember. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I saw him.
I think he was the Otters or the Colts. I thought it was Otters or Colts, maybe.
Brant Clark's on the Colts. He's on Barry Colts.
Colts.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, fantastic player. And if he's not on the market, he's not on the market.
But if he's not on the market, LA have a couple other good prospects as well, forward prospects.
Yeah.
So look, like this this exercise here. The teams that are rumored, Edmonton. We'll throw Toronto in there. Calgary is another one we've heard. Boston is another one.
Please don't.
Boston's best prospect. I know. Boston's best prospect is Fabian Lysell. Fabian Lysell doesn't touch Brant Clark at all. Toronto's best prospect is Matthew Knies. We're going to talk a little bit more prospect stuff later, a little bit. But Matthew Knies, as good as we like to think he is, You give Brand Clark the edge there. Calgary, Brian might have some familiarity with Coronado. You got any scouting reports on Coronado there?
I don't.
I know he's a USNTP guy though, right?
I don't have anything
Pretty
on
sure
him.
he was though. Okay, but like he's another guy. I think he's like he might be in the Nice like in that tier.
The point we're trying to make here though is that Brant Clark is like a top 10 prospect in the world. Like period. That's not in the NHL obviously, and that's not drafted. I'm sorry, that is drafted, and it. I don't know. Like LA obviously don't want to give him up, and if I was LA, I wouldn't want to give him up either. But for a guy like Chychrun,
honestly, the more we talk about Clark, though, I kind of feel like he not like Chychrun potential, right? I'm kind of convincing myself that Clark should be an untouchable. The more I think about it, just especially when you consider you're factoring in the 2 firsts. I'm looking to see if so. It doesn't look like the Kings have anybody. They do have one other guy. They have Quinton Byfield. I don't think Quinton Byfield is going anywhere. He might be just as untouchable as Brant Clark. I know Brian's got a prospect that they could dangle. Do you think they could dangle Turcotte? Yeah. I don't know if he holds enough value.
I don't like Turcotte in the sense that I don't value him as much as the other guys that come in the program. I know when Turcotte was coming up, he had a lot of hype behind him. But obviously hasn't factored out, but for me, he just never had that special push like at that young age like the other players in that team, right?
He's a well-rounded guy, but he's the kind of the jack of all trades, master of none type of guy.
He's a two-way
on that roster.
He's a two-way guy, and he's sick with faceoffs, and he's really good defensively. He's basically like how you would expect Anze Kopitar to be when he was younger.
I was going to say that sounds like LA Kings material, doesn't it?
Like, guys, I'm telling you, like it's like. He doesn't have that X factor like a Caulfield has. Caulfield, if he wants to, you would see him score 2 goals a night, right? But Turcotte doesn't have that in him. And for me, as a tier A prospect, as a grade A prospect, you need that X factor, and Turcotte just doesn't have that, unfortunately.
I'm looking at their prospect list. Like I don't know. There's a bit of a. There is a bit of a caver. What's the term I'm looking for here, boys? Not a crevice. There's not a caveat. Damn it! It's C7. I gotta find this word out.
A crater?
Gary. You could use crater. Crater would work. A chasm. Found it.
Oh, a chasm. Yeah.
There's a bit of a chasm between Clark and Byfield and the next best LA prospects. It's guys like Turcotte. It might be like a Bjorn Fott. He's a guy that's what they took with a Muzzin pick actually from the Leafs. But okay, maybe. You know what? It does sound like the Kings hold the keys to this car here, the Chychrun car, and if they're willing to put Clark on the table, I think he's theirs, and they might be able to get Vejmelka in that same deal. But yeah, if it's not the Kings, then the door opens up. It could go to any one of those other contenders.
There's 29 teams in contention for this guy right now. We only know 2 teams. We only know 1 team that's ahead of the race, and we only know 2 teams that are behind the race. Well, theoretically, right? And man, I want this guy so bad. This is like, I remember 2016. I remember in 2016, I'm watching this draft. All right, Montreal come up to the table and they need a defenseman. And who do they pick? Do you guys know?
What number was this?
This is like 12.
12.
They picked a defenseman.
They picked a defenseman. They don't have him anymore.
Wait, and you said 2016.
2016. No.
So you're saying it was Sergachev 2016?
It was Sergachev.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm
9. I think Sergachev was 9. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Same point.
And I'm like, how could you pick Sergachev over Chychrun? And then you just
I completely forgot he was picked by them as well.
You see Chychrun
I just thought he was a lightning for life.
You see this guy.
I forgot about that.
You see that was the
Drew end deal.
This is the first time I've ever seen somebody just stare down a draft table. Like this is like Shane Wright 2.0, like but crazier, and he had like a vendetta on him.
1.0.
Yes,
Shane
the original,
right?
the original like draft table stare. Yeah. And you can see like from that moment on, I was like, man, this guy's gonna be a stud because he has that pedigree to him, right? And another thing I just wanted to point out, this is actually how that Chychrun pick was actually how Detroit got Datsuk off the book. by
I
the
was
way.
gonna say,
Yeah.
yeah.
So could you
Yeah, I
imagine
remember that.
in an alternate universe, Chychrun
Oh my
was picked
God.
by Detroit. Detroit's has
Yeah.
I forgot his name off the top of my head.
Cider.
Cider and Chychrun together. That's a
Yeah.
And they've
deadly
got another
combo.
guy coming up
That's
too, man. Oh my
crazy.
God. That's interesting. And Chychrun was one of those guys too. Like we've had this conversation very recently about Atu Ratu, guy who was like projected like top 3 and did not go even close. And Timothy Liljegren. Liljegren was like supposed to be a de facto number 2 going into the pre-season rankings. Chychrun was. I'm pretty sure he was like pegged as the number 2 that year. Almost positive.
Yeah, I
Right?
wouldn't be
think it was
surprised.
Matthews and then Chychrun. I'm honestly pretty positive. So
Yeah,
And
but
listen,
then it turned out to be Patty Laine. So
Patty Laine, and he's been traded, and Pierre-Luc Dubois, he's been traded, Puljujarvi, with the
Waivers.
very close.
right?
He
Go
might
down
be
the
right on the
whole
door.
list. Yeah.
All right.
Man.
You think that's enough Chychrun for the night, guys?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's enough chicken. We're
Okay.
going to be
So
talking
wait,
about
I do have
Okay, go
I
ahead.
do have one question though, because
Yeah.
in the chat, this part confused me. In the chat on Saturday, so full disclosure, I was watching the game at a restaurant with a couple of friends, so I wasn't watching the Leaf game intently. Thank God I wasn't, because that game would have pissed me
Yeah.
right off. It looked like it had all the hallmarkings of a just a piss off game.
Classic Leaf game.
But Christian was like, by God, that's Don Sweeney's music. And when he said that, I was like, oh my God, are the Bruins front runners? Did we bring them up? Like,
I
didn't know.
was that brought up?
I said that like they have Fabian Lysell. That's their top prospect, but like he doesn't touch the Kings' top prospect. Right? But like,
Yeah.
like I said,
but
if the Kings
were they
aren't
in the
there,
running?
they're
That
still
was the
reportedly in
question.
it. They're still like in it.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure like the local Bruins reporters have been talking about during the week, and that they've been in talks. And there was another more like national, like more widely regarded reporter who said like Calgary and Boston are the teams that are kind of lurking in the shadows on this on the
that's
chicken stuff.
That's
So-
great news for the East. That's
I hope to never. Yeah, I don't know. That's why when I heard that, and I'm like, okay, the Leafs apparently aren't going to get him. I'm like, let's go Calgary. Let's go Calgary. Right. So
No, just send him right to
he's
LA.
fine.
dude. Put him
I'll
at
tell you
Star.
what. This always
yes,
goes.
yeah, I'm fine with that.
This
dude.
always goes back to the point Christian made about Tampa and Boston. Sometimes you gotta just. They will overpay just to get their guy, and it always works out
Yeah.
because they get him,
Exactly.
and it works like magic.
And
And
they'll just go right into the system. Their system is so good. The Bruins especially, like they'll just get the guy. Their system is so I don't know, so reputable. Even
You
the
become a
Lightning,
Bruin,
they do.
right?
And
Yeah,
now
when you
recently
see that
we've been-
person's a Bruin, it means something.
yeah. Now recently we've been seeing people join the Lightning and become Lightning. Like they become the Lightning, right?
Yeah.
So
could
if
you
you're
guys?
the Leafs, man, you need to like establish, I guess, that culture where you have people come in. It's like they gotta come in and be Leafs, right? Like you gotta overspend a little bit. But here's the thing: like if you're gonna overspend, like I'd rather overspend on Jake Chychrun than like Nick Foligno. You know what I mean? Like
Overspending the
time
top tier.
exactly. Right? Because
Yeah.
at the worst, like how bad are you gonna get burned by an overspend on a player like that, right?
I just want to say about the Foligno thing. This is something I've been thinking about, and I don't necessarily have an answer right now.
Made a time
We
machine.
love to, we love to do the retroactive flaming now of the Foligno trade, and you think back of like who the hell was available at that deadline. There was one other guy, and he went to the
all.
Bruins. Yeah, for like a third. So there's that. But after that,
Yeah, there wasn't much.
they
Pricey.
put the word dead in that deadline. Like there was nothing there. So I have to go. I want to honestly go back and look at that because I know we rightfully say that was a miss because it was a miss. But I kind of think the market dictated that just as much as it was a miss by Dubas.
Was that also not like? Am I going to get my timelines mixed up here? Was that also not like Nick Paul, Brandon Hagel to the Lightning?
No, that was the year
No, that
before.
was last
Was
year.
that the year
Yeah,
after?
no.
2
The year
years.
after. That was last year. So we're
Yeah.
talking about, like Brad said, year before. That was Habs go to the finals,
Habs,
right? And they played the
The Lightning.
blanking. Yeah, why the hell am I blanking?
No.
They beat the Lightning and then
Yeah, they did
Yeah.
beat the Lightning
and
in
the Stars.
final.
The Stars was before that. Yeah. So I'm trying to think
Yeah.
like what were the big moves there? Because even Tampa that year, their move was Savard, right? That was their move.
Well, I think
Marchand didn't do anything.
if I'm not mistaken, the biggest hurdle that year was, well, obviously
Flat
it was
cap.
COVID. Well, flat cap, but COVID. I know COVID was screwing up a lot of things because a lot of teams didn't want to give up so much because if you were going to cross the border, especially Canadian teams to American teams, you had to wait 14 days for them to clear quarantine. So that's 2 weeks. If you were getting people at the deadline, that the deadline I believe was also late into that season, so it was like they were almost essentially missing the rest of the regular season. So
Yeah. Like Foligno,
yeah,
how many games did he play for us? Like maybe like 7?
I
Right?
know injuries happened as well with him. Like he came in as damaged goods, but no, 100% Christian. I think the flack that Dubas has to take was that he targeted Foligno instead of letting Taylor Hall go to
Yeah.
the Bruins, who's still on the Bruins right now. Like obviously you want Taylor Hall, but only one team could get him. Looks like he made the right choice. Like they made the right choice. The Bruins, in
I
going
took
after Taylor Hall.
They've got both of them now anyways, man.
They
I,
do. That's right.
I hope I was looking at the right year, but this was like the defensive like loaded year. It was the Vatanen, the Brady Shea, like
Sammy Vatanen went where? Carolina, right?
yeah.
And so did Brady Shea.
Yeah.
So, but listen, that year was the Leafs' best defensive, like until this
Yeah,
year.
like it was the best
we
offensive
had
option.
we had Bogo, we had Brody in his first year because that was our Canadian division team. You obviously had Riley who was doing well. Buzzin was still healthy, right? So our defensive move was Ben Hutton, right? That was our defensive move.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't think he played a game. I think maybe he played once.
he played regular season. I don't think he played playoffs.
No,
Yeah.
I know for sure he didn't play playoffs.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
So yeah, just something I thought of.
Another guy that's on the market that will not move is Erik Karlsson. I know Christian had some points about Erik Karlsson. I just wanted to bring up.
I've got some stuff. Like you said, Brian, you could there's talk now. There's things are heating up there.
I don't think he moves, bro. I don't.
Yeah,
I don't
but
think
like we need more concrete info for me to like actually like care about it because I still feel like it's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo right now.
I will also say this.
Mhm.
We've also seen that the Sharks want 3 first-round picks for Erik Karlsson, whatever. I'd rather give 3 first-round
right.
picks to to Arizona
Lamar.
for Chychrun. Or
Yeah,
if I have to give up 3 first-round picks, it's going to Arizona. It's not going to San Jose. I'll just say that. But
can we just say the fact that like Edmonton's been like thinking about Chychrun and they've somehow decided he's not good. His defense is not good enough. Can we just say that's so stupid? It's not even funny.
but they want to go after Erik Karlsson, who's
Exactly.
not that great defensively.
Exactly. Like what? Anyways, I just had to say that. On the Erik Karlsson front, these are some interesting stuff that's been coming up. So today is Monday, February 13th of 2023. What happened Monday, February 13th of, I guess it would have been 2013? Erik Karlsson related.
2013?
Hey,
Oh, injury.
I guess it might, yeah. So that was the Achilles injury. On this day. So this wasn't even one of the things I planned on bringing up when I saw that, so I threw it in as well. But here's the 2 points, the main points on Erik Karlsson. How many points does he have right now, guys? Do you guys know?
72.
73.
What?
He picked one up on his way here. But yeah, he's at 73. Anyways, as of right now, unless he gets traded, he's got 28 games left.
He's on 110. He's on a 110 point pace. Am I right?
Something like that. He only needs
it's
27 points in 28 games to get 100. Guys, he's going to do it.
I believe the only defenseman in NHL history to reach 100, like the 110 point plateau, Coffey, or there's one other. I want to say it's Brian Leach.
That's
Is it only those two?
No.
Okay, so then
Yeah,
only those two.
There's 5 defensemen who have hit 100, and Leach is one of them. Podvan is another, and the other one is Al McInnes. So those 3 have hit 100 along with Coffey and Orr.
It's solid.
So right now he's on pace. I think it's like 103 points. Like he would be just outside the top 10 for a defenseman season in terms of points.
All time.
That's crazy, man. And this is just after we were going nuts about like Yossi and Makar, right? We were like, bro, Yossi hit 96, and we're like, oh my god, that's insane. And Carlson just said, I'm gonna do it. And I think he's gonna do it.
He definitely is the most gifted offensive defenseman we've seen in our lifetime, offensively, like going forward.
Yeah.
And
it's just an incredible thing. Like, this is him in what? His age, 32 season?
Yeah, and
we watched prime Erik Karlsson, and we flipped out about him. We saw the alley-oop pass and everything. We said he's the best offensive defenseman. He went to San Jose. He was broken. He had ankle problems, and yet here he is. And we're talking about him in the 100-point season now in 2023. Right?
He just want to like bookend his career.
Yeah,
like, how insane is that? That's something that happens like at 25, not 33.
Yeah. Like if Erik Karlsson's career was a movie, like this ending is incredible, man.
Right? And then he gets to move, and then he gets to move to Edmonton, and he finally gets to lift that Stanley Cup, right?
Okay, the one other thing I have on Karlsson goes hand in hand. There's only been one defenseman to ever lead the league in even strength points, Bobby Orr, in 74-75. He had 2 more than Bobby Clarke. Erik Karlsson right now leads the league by 7 points. 7 even strength points.
Even strength?
Like,
interesting.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah.
Anytime that there's a historical, it's like all time, like this defenseman did this. Like he's like the first since this. It's all the answer is always Bobby Orr. Like
100%.
You pose that as a question, and like first thing in my head was like Bobby Orr. Like it's
obvious the question and just went blank when at the name part, and you could have filled it blank.
It's Bobby Orr.
But I'll tell you what. There's a chance that like it's going to be Erik Karlsson for some specific records, right? I mean, he obviously shown he can take off at any given moment. He revitalized his career, and if this is his best season statistically, point wise, right?
Yeah,
it's already like going to be set in stone. It's like unless he gets injured tomorrow, knock on wood.
Oh.
If he improves from next year and the year after, I know it's not sustainable, but how many more records can he break? How many more jaw-dropping moments can we have, right? I mean, he's always been one of those guys that...
So here's the thing on that front, Bri. Bobby Orr only played for 10 years before injuries cut his career. I don't even think he hit 10 years. I think maybe 8. It was something... It's ridiculous. Like, he might have...
pulled it up for you.
I want to say 10 is the amount of years that he played. So whereas if you wanna compare like we all would consider Bobby Orr to be the greatest defenseman of all time, right? I think there's very, very like not too much debate. Like you've had great defensemen, Lidstrom, we talked about Brian Leach, Paul Coffey. Those names come to mind.
The consensus number 1 is Bobby Orr.
Consensus number 1 is Bobby Orr. Did you find it, Christian?
I did find it. No, I was just adding like Corbinian Holzer to that list. Anyways, he played. I'll call it 9.5 seasons. He played 9 full seasons and then 3 seasons of 10, 20, and 6 games.
That's crazy.
So this is from he started in 66, 67, and he last played in 78, 79 for a total of 657 games played. And he had 915 points. Do you guys know how many assists Bobby Orr had in his best season? Just take a guess.
His best?
He played 78 games. This is in 70-71. How many points did Bobby Orr have in the best season by defenseman all time?
Points or assists?
You can guess both. Assists is like very impressive here. It's part of why I'm bringing it up.
80 assists, 21 goals for 101 points.
So his stat line, in 78 games, he had 37 goals.
Way off.
102 assists.
102
assists and 139 total points.
Oh
there is a world where we're going crazy over Erik Karlsson and his season, and he finishes with 101 points, and we say, Yeah, but Bobby Orr beat that season on assists alone.
On assist.
Right,
Yeah,
that's pretty incredible.
The original point I wanted to bring up though was like the all-time records for like points for like the 4 ones. They're always forever and ever going to be Gretzky until Ovi passes the goal mark.
Goal scoring stuff. Yeah,
they're untouchable, right? I think the defensive points. Okay, maybe not that assist one because like I don't know if we're ever going to see 102 assists like that, but there's got to be some records that Erik Karlsson's going to pass. Like I just think
I'm looking for him on the all-time list right now. I'm gonna keep going, and I'm gonna tell you where he is on the list.
Like Lidstrom's up there. Brian Leach, I know, had a long career and a very productive career. Paul Coffey, same thing.
There's also 2 guys that are currently playing in the NHL right now that are super young and super promising that can be in that category soon.
Makar
and Fox. Yeah. 2 guys.
Yeah.
So that was another thing as well. We said like this might have been one of the most gifted defensemen we've seen in our lifetime. And we might just be a couple years away from seeing the next generation, like the next 2. Like they might potentially be better than Erik Karlsson at his prime. Like who's to say they're not, right? Which is insane to think about because it seemed like Karlsson came like as a unicorn. He was this nice, just beautiful skating Swedish defenseman, and he took the league by storm. It felt like over the course of a couple of years.
I will also say this, Dave. I got to tip my hat to you because when we were early in the season, we were talking about like who we thought was going to win the Vezina. Christian said
the Norris.
The Norris. Christian said, who did you say again?
I said Josh Morrissey.
You said Josh Morrissey. Dave, you said Erik Karlsson, and if he hits,
Did I hit the Erik Karlsson one?
You said Dahlin, and then you changed your mind to Erik Karlsson. I will say this: if Erik Karlsson hits 100, he wins Norris. He wins Norris. It's done. 100%. It's done.
You give him it as a lifetime achievement award, and like I know that obviously that's not how we should have voted on awards, but yeah, that's what would end up happening there. Yeah, here's some record stuff. High scoring defenseman all time, career points is Ray Bourque with 1,579. I know, right? He's like maybe past generations remember him a lot more than like us. Just because, right, like the whole story of Ray Bourque, right?
Yeah, he was the poster child of futility, of playoff futility, right? It was so close, but just never a cigar. He was always the bridesmaid, Raymond Bourque, and he'll always be partnered with that legendary call after the Avs won. It's like, after 22 years, Raymond Bourque, this one's for you. Like synonymous. Like like any generation of fan, if you go back and watch that call over it, like that's a spine-chilling call.
Any commercial they play come playoff time, that call's in there.
Oh, he's on it, yeah, right. 100%.
That's the
part of the lore.
That's the best cut pass off of all time. Sakic picks it up. He doesn't even lift it over his head. He just gives it right to Bourque right away, and when Bourque gets lifted. It's the best. But
so where do you guys think Erik Karlsson is? If you had to take a guess right now, where do you think he is on the all-time list?
Top 10. I'm gonna say 10.
That'd be crazy.
No, he's not that.
I want to say
he's not top 10 yet. Not top 10 yet. He is. He's 26 with 733 points in 892 games. And just for like reference, some context, right above him is Scott Niedermayer with 740 points. Like Scott Niedermayer got 740 points in 1,263 games. So more than 300 games less than what Erik Karlsson's at right now. Or a little bit less than 300, but you get the point here. So listen, man, he's gonna keep climbing, and yeah, he can get pretty high. I think there's an outside chance that maybe he can touch 1,000. If he touches 1,000, he'd get into the top 10. He'd be 9.
Okay, so that was I was about to ask you, what is the top 10 mark? I think once you get top 10, like. That's an achievement in itself, just especially because of the guys that he's going up against, like the Raymond Bourque, Paul Coffeys, those eras. Like you brought up the Bobby Orr stat line. Like, how are you going to compete with that? So what would be the official point mark to reach top 10? Who is 10 and who would that be?
So I'm going to give you 10 and 11. 11 tragically is Bobby Orr with 915.
Wow.
It's right that like that one hurts because Christian. So Bobby Orr, like I said, played 657 games to get to 915. In almost 1,000 more games, at number 10 is Chris Chelios at 1,651 games. That guy was a workhorse. 948 points. So for Erik Karlsson to get in there, he's looking at 950 or 949.
He can do it.
He could do it. He's at, like we said, he's at 733.
He get to 800 by the end of the season.
Yeah. So, and I think so.
I don't know about
this now.
Sorry, not 800. Sorry, not 800. Sorry, he get to 750 by the end of the season.
Yeah, 750 for sure.
Yeah.
I heard 773. Oh my, that's not me. But
750 by the trade deadline. Honestly, it's like 12 points. That's it.
There's a world, man. There's a world.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to. All this Erik Karlsson stuff kind of just came up this week. Some pretty impressive stuff there from Erik Karlsson.
All right, one last thing for Erik Karlsson before we go into our next but last topic.
Do you want to take a break after?
No. We only have 20 minutes left. So yeah. Okay. One last question before we.
Kudos to Brian's bladder.
I like that, Brian.
Okay, so one last question before we get off Erik Karlsson. Christian, yes or no? Is Erik Karlsson HOF if he retires today?
If he retires today, can we postpone the decision until end of season, or does he retire like tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
We gotta look at this trophy cabinet. Does he have one or two Norris trophies?
Two.
I think he's got two. 733 points in 892 games.
Already to like top 25 certified, basically. Like he's top 25 points.
He's right outside top 25. He's 26. And he doesn't have a cup. That one hurts a little bit. Does he have a Stanley Cup final? I don't think he was there for he wasn't there for the San Jose final.
Yeah.
He's got like 3 conference finals maybe. He's got one with Ottawa, one with San Jose.
He almost was in the Cup finals.
Yeah.
He's one Chris Kunitz away.
That was the alley-oop year.
That was the alley-oop year.
That was a legendary year, man. Yeah, I was cheering for the Sens as a Leaf fan, right? I think a lot of people were cheering for the Sens. So, yeah, I would vote yes, but I feel like you got to do a bit more of a deep dive on this. But I would say yes. I feel like you have to. A guy with 2 Norris. How many guys with 2 Norrises are in the Hall of Fame? I guarantee you, any guy with multiple Norrises has made the Hall of Fame, right? Without a doubt.
Dave?
Yeah, I think that's the defining factor.
Yes or no, off the top of your head?
Okay, so I'll be different. And I'll say no. I want to see that him cement it with the cup or
100-point season.
No, that doesn't mean like I want to see like a 1,000 points, right? Which I think he could hit, or a cup probably lands him in that. Like if you hit 900 plus 1,000 plus points as a defenseman, I think that's automatic, like no doubt about it, 100%.
You're like legendary at that point, yeah.
Yeah. So
the more I think about it, the more I'm more yes than yes, honestly.
But
yeah,
you did bring up a really good point there, Christian. I don't think there's any defenseman in the not in the Hall of Fame with 2 Norrises under their belt. So that's the thing. Right now, it's a no. But it's like a 50-50, I think, personally, right now.
Yeah. But he's not retiring tomorrow, right, Brian?
Exactly. That's a fantastic thing that's tomorrow.
Yeah.
I will also say this. He's gone through a lot throughout his whole career. Yes, from day one
physical,
to
mental,
now. Everything, right? Even
everything.
Literal hockey adversity like we're talking about, whether it's team stuff, playoff success, or lack thereof. All of it.
Everything.
Man.
Off ice, on ice, everything. Injuries, everything. That guy is the definition of, I guess you could say, a warrior. Like he's battled through so much. He's
been classy through it too.
That's how we don't even know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
this is just what we know. Yeah,
exactly.
So, like in a perfect world where none of that happens, where it's just straight hockey, where it's just no.
Does he stay on Ottawa the whole time? That's the question.
I mean, in another universe,
that's the story. right?
that is where the paths start to diverge, right?
Yes.
You could pinpoint the moment where everything starts to, and like not to
Unravel for a little bit.
rehash old topics and like
But then again,
stories.
he's fixing it up now. Like he's doing everything he quite literally
And
can.
that's the thing. He's fixing up now. That is, I think it's 4 or 5 years since that point. So that's potentially 4 years
Just wasted.
No, not wasted. Like, listen, he was still decent offensively. Like when we talked about Carlson,
He couldn't turn, man.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Did San Jose not go to the conference final?
They did. The year they got him, I'm pretty sure. So yeah. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying though, guys. Like if he was primary Carlson for the entirety of his career, like we saw,
There's a chance he's at 1,000 points already.
Yeah, we're talking about maybe a third Norris, right? Dude, we could still be talking about a third Norris, like, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy,
It could have
man.
been like 4th or 5th though at this point. Is the point that I know that Brian's trying to make 100%, Brian.
What could have been?
But then again, dude, if Bobby Orr didn't suffer,
We could play this game all day. That's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You could play.
If Corbinian Holzer would have stayed with the Leafs his whole career,
he would have had 3 Norrises already. The Leafs would have been on a 5-cup run right now if Corbinian.
Damn it, man. Damn it.
So Leaf.
Okay. We got 15 minutes left. Let's who Christian brought up this article. I don't remember who it was by. It was Adrian Wheeler.
This is Scott Wheeler of The Athletic. This big prospect guy. Put out top 50 prospects that are NHL affiliated but not actively playing in the NHL. He's got a couple rules by which he plays within when he makes this list. I'll give you the brief version. These players are under 23. These players are not full-time NHL players yet. That is to Scott's discretion. He kind of makes that call on his own. And then they're either signed to an NHL contract or selected by an NHL team in the draft, and that team still holds the rights. So they're not a free agent or they're not on an AHL contract. I don't think anyone on an AHL contract would have made this list anyways. It's pretty rare that a prospect that good is on an AHL deal. But yeah.
Right, though. Jim Wright's on that list.
But no. But he's on an NHL deal, right? An AHL deal is
he not on that list though?
He's on the list.
No, he is on the list. He is on the list. What are you saying? He shouldn't be?
Oh, I see what you're saying though. Okay.
Yeah,
I understand. Yeah.
So under 23, not in the NHL full time, and signed by a team or drafted by a team. Yeah, so those are the conditions. I'll hit you guys with the top 10 here, and he does it by tiers. So your top 1 and 2, they're in a tier by their own. Logan Cooley and Luke Hughes. Brian, as soon as I sent it in our chat, Brian's like, Logan Cooley better be number 1.
Yeah. When you said top 50 prospects not in the NHL, like Logan Cooley was the first guy that came to my head, and then right after Luke Hughes, and after that, I was like, whoa, there's just so many guys.
Luke Hughes was for me. I thought he was gonna be number 1, but I get that Logan Cooley's number 1 after the year he's having. Right, that whole line has boosted their stock. I'm gonna talk a little bit about that. Number 3 is a guy that Dave is big on. Dave, who are you really big on from the World Juniors? Not for Canada.
Big boy.
You got
Big boy David Jiricek, baby.
Let's go, David Jiricek. He's leapfrogged his counterpart defenseman from his draft year, Simon Nemec, and I think rightfully so. That's no slight to Simon Nemec. It's much more of a kudos to Jiricek. But you've got Nemec at 4. Edvinsson is a Red Wings prospect, also a defenseman. We talked about Seider. They got another guy coming, and the good news for them. Well, actually, Seider's right-handed, and so is Edvinsson. So that's a rarity. They're going to have two... actually, never mind. Edvinsson is left-handed. They can do the power pairing if they wanted to. Brent Clark, guy we talked about, number 6. That's really damn high, right? I wonder how many times the number 6 rated prospect in hockey has got traded. Probably not too many times. Number 7, Shane Wright. Number 8, Quinton Byfield. Number 9, Logan Stankoven. I'm sure he was a huge riser. I don't know what his ranking was before this list, but I'm sure he rose big time. And number 10 is Matthew Savoie. He's a more underrated guy. that he was I think he was the first player granted exceptional status out of the W or into the W. No, he's a W guy. Yeah, yeah.
I think I know this of well.
Yeah, I don't know if he's there's like his story is like more complicated. I can't remember the total story there. Same draft year as Shane Wright, and like he was another guy here who was viewed as the de facto number 2 behind Shane Wright going into the year. He dropped a little bit. I think he went 10 to Buffalo. But yeah, and he's also 10 on this list. For Leafs fans' purposes, we have to point out the only Leafs prospect on this list, who is none other than Arizona product Matthew Knies. And I don't know, Dave, you saw, did you see where he's ranked? I threw it in the chat. Did you get a glimpse of it or no?
Yeah, he's in the bottom 10. So that is the 9. So he's 41st on this list.
Yeah, he's 42.
42.
And is that surprising to you, Dave? Like just based off of, I'm going to give my reaction as well. Like when you hear that Matthew Knies is the 42nd ranked prospect in hockey, does that make you say, huh?
So here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
So there seems to be 2 camps in Toronto right now. It's either the Matt Knies is untouchable, or it's whoever you have to get, and if you have to throw in Matt Knies, do it. This list kind of seems to side more with the people to say like if you are considering making a big splash, and Matthew Knies should be on the table to make it. So because some people were putting him, as high as guys like, Cutter Gauthier and like a Jimmy Snuggerud. Like he's in that, like I thought maybe he'd be in that conversation with the way people were talking about him. But it does come off as a bit of a surprise who, like, I'm not watching Matthew intently, and I'm also not watching the other guys on this list intently, right? So, I guess I would say it's a bit of a surprise.
It is a little bit of a surprise for me, too, because I think I echo your thoughts, where I thought he was in kind of that tier above. We've had so many people come out and be like, this guy's a can't-miss type of guy. So, maybe we just have to recalibrate that. Yes, he can still be can't-miss, but without having that crazy upside that maybe some of these other guys have, right? He might be high floor, not low ceiling, but not as high ceiling as we thought, right? And it's tough to have the best of both worlds, where it's high floor and high ceiling.
So,
Sorry, Brian, go ahead.
I looking at the list, I like the list a lot because obviously my 2 guys are 1 and 2, but I don't like lists like this because it's ranking guys that are drafted that are under 23 on NHL contracts that are not NHL ready and haven't played a game in the NHL or something like that. That's very specific, and these guys have legitimately not played in the NHL. We don't know how they fare in the actual game. We don't know the full product yet, right? This is just a preview, just a taste.
You take this.
This is just following.
Yes.
Sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
This is the type of list that you take with a grain of salt.
Yes.
You also have a guy like Marco Rossi on here, who's
had
middle of the pack.
The NHL.
Yeah.
What?
So he's middle of the pack of the list.
He's got in that sniff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's somebody who most people could have expected to already have been in the NHL, but it looks like now he's middle of the pack with guys that are younger than him, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, he does stand out there as a 21-year-old. Holtz is another guy. He's a guy who's also got a sniff, probably not as much of a sniff as Rossi.
The big one for me is Cam York. Bottom.
Yeah. He was a guy that I was where he's 31. Honestly, to me, Brian, 31 seems okay. You know what? I have to admit I haven't paid as much attention to him this year, but I know he had like not a falling out at the end of last year, but he had a bit of a sour ending to last year. Has he been Cam York that we thought he was going to be this year?
From what I know, no. But
okay,
man, I thought when Cam York was drafted, I thought he had the ceiling of like.
I remember.
Yeah, I thought he was so good. I thought that he was like a great two-way guy, especially at the nice breakout pass, good zone entry. I thought he was going to be something special, especially on a Philadelphia team that obviously has a surplus of defensemen right now. I can see why he's not getting game time, right? But it's a little bit surprising to see a guy that who I thought was that good so low, right? But
I feel an interesting one is Dylan Genther, who Dave
Yeah.
brought up earlier. He's at 16, and you just look at some of the guys in front of him. Jimmy Snuggerud right in front of him at 15. He's a guy who was drafted this past year, hasn't played yet. He's in college. There's guys even from his draft year. Pavel Mintyukov is a Ducks pick. Matachuk and Korchinski both went this past year. Even Mintyukov went this past year. There's one, the 2021 guy in front of him. Logan Stankoven is in front of him. I guess that does check out. But I felt like he might be a little low considering this is his D+1 year, and he's contributing a bit for the Coyotes. So that one stuck out to me as a little bit low. Like you said, this list is not a. You have to take it with the context of what the list is, which isn't NHL prospects in general. And I think that is a separate list that comes out. They do top NHL prospects and players under 23. No ifs and buts, no caveats. Just you're under 23. Okay, let's rank you. And I remember like Luke Hughes, for example. I think going into the season, he was ranked above guys that have played NHL games because of that pedigree. And that's how you end up with this list where you might have guys that are ahead or below, despite being younger or older than someone else. It's an interesting list either way. Definitely a good read, and it's something to keep. It's the timing of this is good because some of these guys might be moved, right?
Yeah, and especially specifically with LA, they have two guys in the top 10, Byfield and Clark. New Jersey,
and those are the only two guys on the list for LA, by the way.
Wow, that's good drafting then. And then you have
it is.
And then you also have New Jersey, two guys with your 1 and 2 defensemen for the future, Luke Hughes, Simone Nemec, and wow, like it's crazy.
And they have Holtz on there as well.
Yes,
Holtz as a forward. I'm a big Holtz guy. He's I think he's kind of dropped a little bit. He's got a lethal shot, man. That's there's some prospects that I keep an eye on. He's one of the guys that I want to turn out.
Do you guys know who Jack Hughes plays with on his line? Who's the left winger is?
Jack Hughes plays with on his line right now.
This guy doesn't have a shot, by the way. Yeah. So when Holtz comes up, Jack Hughes will have somebody actually like play a puck to.
Yeah, okay, who's his left winger right now?
Erik Haula.
Oh god.
Yeah.
No, you can do better than that. Yeah,
so,
you can definitely do better than that.
I know Mr. Jack Hughes over there is waiting for somebody to, get moved or come up so that he can actually play the puck to. But
come on, Holtz.
I also just want to say this. I'm a little bit surprised. Even Miroshchenko, like I can't say his name yet. When he plays a game in the NHL, that's when I'll learn his name. He's not on the list. I thought he was like from what I've seen. I think he's super talented, and I'm a little bit heartbroken not to see him there. But based on what I know, he just missed the list by like a couple spots. So.
Relay did mention exact words. Miroshnichenko was one of the final cuts and will likely appear on future lists, so keep an eye out, okay, Brian?
So, you know what? I can give this a pass.
Yeah, right? This is just, we can wrap it up with this stuff here. This is just team stuff like Brian was mentioning about the Kings and Devils. The teams with the most prospects in top 50, the Wild and Blue Jackets each have 4, and there's 7 teams that have no prospect. As Brian mentioned, the Capitals, do you guys want to guess this, or should I just read them out?
Pittsburgh.
What do you guys guess? Pittsburgh, right? Pittsburgh's on the list.
Boston.
No, they have Lysell.
Boston has Lysell. Yeah,
Boston's he's on the list?
Lysell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Does Winnipeg have anybody?
Winnipeg does have somebody. I know they have Chaz Lucius.
Chaz Lucius.
We got Brad Lambert. Yeah. Lightning and the Avs. So there's your previous final. Panthers, Islanders, and did I mention Vegas? I can't remember if I mentioned Vegas.
No.
They're also.
Yeah, but
yeah.
Okay.
But you know what? It makes sense. Yeah, because most of those teams there have a cup or at least made deep runs to get in a situation to almost win a cup. So, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. Except for Florida.
Yeah. I was just about to say, if you're in Florida's case, you're mortgaging the future for Ben Sherrod.
Tough.
Oof. And they didn't even keep him. But maybe that was a smart decision.
We're at 1 hour and 29 minutes. Any last words, guys? Anything else you guys want to bring up?
The last thing I want to bring up, number 50, Mississauga Steelheads legend, Owen Beck. Love that guy. Like, awesome.
Okay.
But he was the 13th forward for Canada and played a combined 6 minutes when he was called up after who got hurt?
Doc.
Colton Doc. Yeah.
Yeah, Kirby Doc.
The cursed Doc brothers at the World Juniors, man. Oof.
Yeah. So shout out to Owen Beck, number 50 on the list. That's it.
Okay, thank you guys for listening. This concludes episode 21 of PuckPod by BD Sports. Check out our articles. Check out our TikToks. Well, if they post.
Nope, hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, well, I said the same thing last week. Okay. Anyway, shout out NHL Shop, shout out Razor, shout out Fubo TV, and yeah, that's a wrap. We will end it right there.